So Seedify is a top 30 crypto gaming token frequently mentioned by top influencers like Alex Becker and Journey Crypto. But most people only have a really vague idea of what Seedify actually does. And the so-called explanatory videos out here on YouTube are just 30x hopium price predictions that are really based on nothing. So I spent the last couple of days going through their white papers, both versions, their founder interviews, the roadmap, their social media, and most importantly, Seedify's tokenomics structure to find out if SFUND is worth your time or your money. And all I ask in return is you hit that like button down below for me, put on your Launchpad hat, and let's jump in. So Seedify was created by a 33-year-old Turkish man named Levent Sem Aydin in 2021. Levent's previous company was a data-driven technology that helped companies get better ROIs with influencer marketing. In 2021, Levent decided to launch Seedify when he saw a massive opportunity in the blockchain space to allow normal everyday people like me and you to get access to venture capital opportunities. Fast forward to today, and Seedify now have over 60 employees from all over the world. Now, what most people don't know is Seedify actually started as a generalist launchpad that facilitated launches of blockchain projects in any industry. In fact, their very first partnership was with a DeFi protocol called Wizard. But Seedify saw a massive opportunity upcoming in the blockchain gaming space and had to jump on it. So they pivoted their entire company to just be a launchpad to blockchain games and gaming infrastructure. Seedify wanted to serve the 2.8 billion gamers worldwide by providing them with an opportunity to invest, play, and influence blockchain games. They describe themselves as a blockchain-powered innovation hub with a DAO-driven seed stage fund, decentralized incubator, and launchpad. But I have no idea what that actually means. So I prefer a simpler analogy. Seedify is essentially what you'd get if you had Shark Tank to have a baby with Kickstarter, but only be interested in the blockchain gaming and metaverse industry. And right now, Seedify have a mission to launch 50% of all future blockchain games over the next 5 years. A massive mission, but can they pull this off? Well, let's find out. So the main element of Seedify is pretty obvious. It's their launchpad. But how exactly does it work? Well, this is the Shark Tank part of the analogy. On Shark Tank, you have businesses pitching to billionaires to take a percentage of their business in exchange for funding, their advice, and the ability to leverage their network and connection. The Seedify launchpad is similar, but a decentralized version of that broken down into 3 parts. Number 1, if you're a blockchain game developer, you apply with your game idea to the Seedify platform. Seedify will do all the background checks and then select their favorite ideas to be approved and shortlisted. Once you're on the shortlist, then you get the chance to be in front of the Seedify DAO. If you don't know what that is, it's a decentralized autonomous organization, or the simplest way to put it, it's everybody who holds the Seedify token is part of that DAO. And these token holders will all vote on which games that they want to actually get incubated and funded. And of course, the weight of these votes are dependent on how many Seedify tokens you actually hold. If you pass their voting process, then you're on to phase 2, which is the incubator. In this incubator, you start by receiving some funding. You get $75,000 of SFUND tokens from Seedify directly in exchange for giving them 3% of your in-game currency. Of course, you get plugged into their advisors, their network, their connection, and their suite of tools to help you produce the best game possible. And once you've built this game, you're then finally over to the Launchpad section, where you're ready to raise more money and create an investor and player community for your new project. So you offer a portion, say 20% of your in-game currency, to the Seedify DAO investors. So each holder of these Seedify tokens will get a small allocation of your in-game currency at a discounted price called an IGO, an in-game offering. This is all really easy to understand if we can compare this to a Web 2 analogy. So you can imagine if we go back to 2012 and we take Shopify as an example. Let's say I'm Toby Luke, the head of Shopify, and I want to create a Shopify launchpad. This is where I get the best e-commerce ideas from all over the world to pitch me their ideas. Once they pitch me their ideas, I pick the best ones, or I can have an audience vote on which ones they're most likely to shop on and actually buy their products. And then the Shopify launchpad could plug these ideas and make them real life shops by giving them a little bit of funding, helping create amazing images, helping them create an email list, and basically helping them create massive e-commerce brands in return for maybe 3% of all sales. This is essentially what Seedify is doing in the Web3 space. And once again, their aim is to do this for 50% of all blockchain games over the next 5 years. So far, Seedify has launched 49 projects through the Seedify Launchpad. Here are a couple of examples. They launched Sidus Heroes, a multiplayer open world futuristic space metaverse inhabited by NFT heroes. They also launched Good Games Guild, a guild which aims to be the biggest hub and player sponsor for the virtual world blockchain economy. And of course, their biggest success yet was Blocktopia, a skyscraper made up of 21 levels where users will have access to crypto information and immersive content all in one place. Blocktopians will be able to earn revenue through real estate ownership, advertising revenue, play games, build networks, and much more. In total, with these 49 games that Seedify have launched, they've all been in the profit, and Seedify boasts of being the highest returns in the entire gaming crypto metaverse, but I'll touch a little bit more on that in just a second. Because before that, I want to show you the most beautiful thing about Seedify is its simplicity. It's a very refreshing change of pace compared to a lot of complex ecosystems out there, such as Vulcan Forge, which I've also broke down on this channel if you want to go and watch it after this video. Because at its core, Seedify is an extremely streamlined value exchange that creates a win-win-win between gamers, investors, and Seedify itself. Let me explain. If you're a blockchain game, as you already know, you apply to become part of the Seedify Launchpad, and the community will provide instant feedback to you whether they want that idea to become a game or not, allowing you to split test and submit as many ideas as you want until you find one that people can actually connect with. So this is a cool way of testing your ideas without actually having to create anything. Of course, the benefits of the game have also already touched on. They get funding, they get plugged into a network, they get a community. They get a community of not only players, but investors who have a vested interest in seeing the success of your game. But what do the investors, people like me and you who hold the Seedify token, what do we get? Well, firstly, we can stake our SFUND tokens for a pretty high APY. At the time of recording this video, if you lock them up for up to a year, you can get up to 100% APY back on your token. This alone is huge, especially if Seedify can maintain or increase its value per token. You can't really get these deals anywhere outside the blockchain space. But more on this in a minute because there are some risks involved. Now, if we are staking our Seedify tokens, we actually get to influence the blockchain gaming industry by voting using our SFUND tokens on what we want to see created. This not only gives us a voice in this world, but also the opportunity to have an allocation of those tokens at an IGO discounted price, which most people will then just trade back into Seedify tokens or US dollars and take a profit. And on average, you get a massive profit per game. Seedify boasts an average all-time high ROI of a 36x on your money. But once again, wait till you get to the end of this video because there are a lot of important caveats that you need to know around these investment opportunities. Now, Seedify investors are categorized into 9 different tiers, ranging from the lowest tier of holding 250 SFUND tokens all the way up to the highest 100,000 SFUND token tier. As you progress up these tiered levels, you get more rewards, bigger allocations, and your votes count for more. As an investor or part of the Seedify community, you can actually help these individual projects during their incubation phase, whether that be with marketing, hiring, tokenomics structure, or whatever value you can provide, and you'll get rewarded in more SFUND token. Pretty cool. And lastly, where does Seedify benefit? Well, of course, in exchange for the initial $75,000 worth of funding, Seedify get 3% of the token ecosystem of the game that's in development. Of course, they're also massive holders of the SFUND token and get team and founder distributions every 6 months. We'll get into the details here, but at the moment, it's about $4 million every 6 months. By providing this value to investors and the actual games in development, Seedify also have an amazing opportunity to lock up large amounts of SFUND tokens, making them more wealthy in the process as they hold most of these SFUNDs in reserve. Now, most people probably heard about Seedify in the last bull run because it absolutely crushed its execution. But instead of resting on its laurels and just being a blockchain gaming launchpad, they're looking to expand for the next bull cycle. The first idea they had, and they've actually launched this already, is an NFT launchpad and marketplace ecosystem. Because just like how they started in the DeFi space as a generalist launchpad for all blockchain projects, Seedify see a massive opportunity because big marketplaces for NFTs like OpenSea are basically generalists who cater for all NFT and artwork. But there's very few people right now who are trying to be the #1 NFT gaming marketplace. Another good Web 2.0 analogy is eBay had a massive share of the general buy and sell community online. But then you have websites like Zillow popping up who are specific to real estate and therefore can have features that not only are relevant to real estate listings, but Zillow can also carefully curate a real estate only list. Whereas eBay, they basically have everybody as their audience. Another good example might be Etsy. If you want handcrafted items, you go over to Etsy and you join those email lists and you shop there. And once again, Etsy listings are going to have very specific details and very specific processes tailored to the handcraft item section. This is what Seedify are trying to do to NFTs. They're trying to categorize them down into just gaming NFTs that will be sold on their platform. Their platform will be cross-chain, but also they have launched a new token called called SNFTS, which is specifically designed to facilitate transactions and power this NFT marketplace. By using their new native token, users of the platform can earn whitelist allocations, be charged 50% less fees, and have better odds for rare item drops. Now, this next feature and idea that Seedify are currently working on is still in its nascent phase, so we'll only just touch on it here, but they say it's going to be the biggest thing that they've ever done. So if you want to see the follow-up video that I'll make on this when they launch this new feature, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. But for now, they've created a brand new branch of their business called Meta Studio, and their mission is to create something greater than the metaverse. This is a pretty big call. It's a thing that they're calling a multi-metaverse ecosystem that will have the ability to plug in all of their incubated and launched Seedify games into one world. Meta Studios is working on its own secret project with lots of talented members transferred from AAA gaming giants like Ubisoft, EA, and more. It's safe to say we are working on something extraordinary behind the scenes that will bring much more fun, creativity, and utility to Seedify. Seedify also have some other really awesome features. They plan to implement a Kickstarter-like function where you as an individual can submit an idea that you want to create in the blockchain gaming world. You can have the DAO and community treasury individually choose if they want to fund your project in exchange for some reward. Seedify have also hinted that they're going to be launching their very own blockchain game. Now, this would be really fascinating to see because I don't know who in this industry is possibly positioned with more experience in launching games and massive support from their incredible community who really love Seedify. And this one's less of a feature, but definitely a perk of the Seedify project, where they have a fantastic influencer narrative where the top crypto gaming influencers have a deep vested interest and positive outlook on the future of Seedify. For example, Alex Becker first called Seedify on September 6th, 2021. If you invested at that time and sold even at 80% of its all-time high, you would come away with a clean 4x on your money. And this doesn't include the APY return or any allocation that you got for in-game currencies. And if you're somebody who doesn't want to miss out on these same opportunities in the future, you should consider checking out our Patreon, where we use wallet tracking software on crypto influencers like Gary Vee or Alex Becker so that you know exactly when they buy a new project and not have to wait until they shill it to their millions of followers. We also have exclusive token deep dives and simplified opportunity dashboards like this sheet that shows you every single Alex Becker token that he's recommended at the precise date and price. We do often sell out of positions, so I'll open some more up at the launch of this video, so if you see a seat available for you, don't hesitate to join us. And now let's get into what we've all been waiting for. Seedify's tokenomics. The native tokens of the Seedify ecosystem are SFUND and SNFTS. We'll be discussing SFUND in this video because it is their main token, but if you want to go deeper on SNFTS, we'll include it in the podcast on our Patreon. The value of SFUND at the time of this recording is $2.05. SFUND has a circulating market cap of 76 million, which is 37% of their fully diluted market cap of $204 million. The all-time high of SFUND was $16.77 late in 2021, which gave it a market cap of almost 350 million when talking just about its circulating supply. The number of unique investors and stakers currently holding SFUND token is about 48,000. SFUND was launched exclusively via airdrop, and Seedify rightly pride itself on not allowing massive venture capitalism, but empowering the little people through an airdrop like this. This is also how they launched their second token, SNFTS. The original token SFUND gave 16% allocation to the team, 10% to marketing, with 50% of the token staying in the funding pool reserve, which is designed to incubate more projects and inject more resources into Seedify's growth over time. Now, if you don't factor in token unlocks, you can find yourself in a very sticky situation when investing in tokens, because over 60% of Seedify's supply is still not on the market, and if you saw an inflation of 60% in their token overnight, you're going to be in big trouble. But luckily, Seedify's vesting period looks pretty good. They release 2% of the team's tokens every 6 months for 5 years, which is an inflation or a value of about $4 million every 6 months or $8 million every year for the team at the current valuation. Now, there is going to be some inflation of this token. I've done some rough estimates and found out that it's about 10% per year, but most of their inflation is definitely over with, because if you have a look at this screenshot above, it used to look way worse. Now, you also have to be careful if you are a crypto gaming investor, because a lot of these games do not actually have a way for their token to benefit from the success of their game. You have to make sure the incentives are aligned. If you want a good example of this, go have a look at Thetan Arena that has a massively growing player base, but their token is just a speck of what it used to be. And that's because it's a totally inflationary token. So let's have a look at the value and the utility of SFUND. So SFUND, as we know, serves as access access, if you want to get exclusive tokens at discounted prices during IGOs, you must be staking these SFUND tokens. And the nice thing about this is the rewards aren't actually paid back in SFUND tokens, creating a lot of inflation, but they're paid in the in-game currency of the game that's in the Launchpad. This means they're locking up a large supply of SFUND tokens, but also not increasing the supply. SFUND is rumored to also be used as payments and the backbone of Seedify's entire ecosystem as they continue to build it out, giving it decent utility. Now, as far as I can see, the developers of these games aren't having to hold any SFUND tokens themselves, which could have been an awesome opportunity to lock up even more of the supply. Or in the best case scenario, if they had to stake the amount of SFUND tokens that they had in their game natively, sort of like Engine does, and have it as an insurance policy if anyone ever wanted to go back into the Seedify token. And with that first touch of skepticism, let me get into my concerns for this project. Firstly, they struggle in a bear market because everything's not flying to all-time highs, and this is strictly an investment platform. Of course, they're also changing their staking rewards, and a lot of this is unclear at the moment, but they're removing the higher tier staking rewards so they have less inflation on their token, which basically cuts down your short-term profits if you're trying to access the Seedify investment fund. Now, Seedify are ahead of a lot of projects in this space because they actually have a working model that creates a lot of value. However, their model is not compatible with all countries because their IGO, or what used to be called an ICO, initial coin offering, is actually banned in many of the world's biggest countries, including the USA and China. This really limits the amount of people who can participate in. But my biggest concern, even bigger than that, is their anti-flywheel effect. Put simply, Jeff Bezos coined the term in Web 2, where he said the more products that get listed on Amazon, the more people are going to shop there. And the more people are going to shop there is going to entice more businesses to list more products on Amazon. And the even more products on Amazon will entice even more customers. And you get this flywheel network effect, which basically grows things exponentially. However, Seedify almost have the opposite of this, because if you think about it, if you're an investor and you're staking your SFUND tokens, you're entitled to a small allocation of the in-game currency that's currently in incubation. But the more investors that actually come on board, you're splitting the same size allocation and therefore getting a lot less, even though you're staking the exact same amount of tokens. I saw a video of a guy who was already complaining that he was only getting about $12 allocation of an in-game currency, even though he was staking $9,000 worth of SFUND tokens. Another concern, which is a good and a bad thing, is you don't get to sell your in-game currency allocations immediately, but you'll have a vesting period. Now, this is good for the health of the in-game economy. However, when you look at the all-time high averages and see that you can get a 36 times on your money, well, this is not actually doable because your tokens are locked for a certain period of time that far outstrip the timeline of their all-time highs. And you can see a pattern of most of these games. Are they going to absolutely explode in the short term? But long term, the average ROI of the 49 projects that Seedify have actually helped launch is less than 0.5%. Now, the Seedify founder has actually addressed this and said that they're now being more choosy with which projects they take on now that they have more pull in the market. Awesome. With all this said, what are my personal thoughts? Well, I actually really like Seedify. I love the simplicity of its operation and how it can create an amazing value exchange and a win-win-win in a space that there are a lot of rug pulls and zero-sum games. I also noticed a lot of Alex Becker's initial recommendations actually use Seedify's Launchpad to find them, and therefore Seedify is cool to participate in just as a discovery of what's coming up in the blockchain gaming world. I think it's got a fantastic influence support, especially with Alex Becker and Journey Crypto on the team as advisors or paid influence. And like I said, this Launchpad and all other Launchpads do extremely well in a bull market because not only do their tokens explode, but the tokens of the games in the actual incubator explode as well, and this is a great way to get exposure to everything. There is one sort of downside, which is the Seedify token will rise and will fall based on what games are about to be launched. And a play, instead of actually holding these tokens, could be to scoop up Seedify tokens when they're not launching any big games and then sell them just before the allocations come out, because this is when the coin normally dumps. All in all, I think Seedify are in a fantastic position as the market leader to adapt and innovate in the blockchain gaming market. And I hope with their games or multi-metaverse, they'll be able to structure their economy so that their SFUND token will benefit for everything that they're creating. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.